good to be back. In today's video, we continue with our basic Linux terminal commands. All right, so PWD. PWD means print working directory. It accepts no arguments and flags, prints the absolute path of the current working directory. And so there are two types of paths that you have to keep in mind. We have relative path. We also have what we call the absolute path. Right. So let's say we are in the home directory here. If I want to go to maybe this folder, I can specify a relative path. Relative means relative to where I am. All right. So relative to this home directory, where is this folder to? And so I could just specify maybe user 1 and then folder 2. I get to folder 2. But if I were to be asked what is the absolute path of this folder 2, I'll have to start from the root. So I'll have to mention it's from the root, home, user 1 and user 2. So that's the concept of relative and absolute paths. Right, so let's look at PWD. Like we said, we're going to print the working directory. So getting to our commands, I'm here in my terminal. And so to use that, I will just write PWD. Wherever you go, you need to know where you are. Otherwise, you will get lost. And so if you look at this tree, this file system here, it's easy to get lost here. If you press enter right now, you can see where I am. I'm in home. This / is the root, and home and insertion. So if I were to show you on this file system, I'm in this / home, and then the separation of these folders, there is a / again. Maybe this user 1 is section, right? So / home / section. This is what simply means this is where I am. So PWD does not take any arguments. The PWD has no spaces, number one. Number two, Linux is case sensitive. If I try and write PWD and press enter, you can see that the command is not found. So make sure the PWD is in all lowercase. If you press enter, you can see the path exactly where you are. So it's going to give you an absolute path. Okay, so it's starting from the root, which is this / at the beginning, and then home, and then / section. This means there's a separation. These are two places. I hope that makes a whole lot of sense. All right, the next command that we're going to look at today is the ls command. So I want you to pay attention on this command. Right, so if I want to list the contents of a directory, so right now I know where I am, but I don't know what is inside the current directory. So this command comes in handy if I want to see what is contained in this particular directory. So it lists the contents of a directory. It can accept arguments, and it can also accept what we call flags. There's a difference between arguments and flags. Flags are preceded by a hyphen or a minus sign, and then a letter in front. So this is -L, -A, -R, uppercase R, and then -LTR. And so I'm going to talk about arguments. Without any arguments, this ls command lists the contents of the current directory. So let's say I want to list the contents of the current directory. So I have to say ls, only that. So as I mentioned, this is in all lowercase. If I press enter, you see what we have in this directory. So I know inside section there's this food. It could be a file, it could be a directory. We are not yet sure. Not txt again with this tilde, and then we have Python examples. Right. So yeah, these are the files that I have in this particular location. If, for instance, I want to find out what is inside home, this is where the argument comes in. To list the contents of any other directory, you have to specify its path. So ls. And so which directory am I targeting? I'm targeting the home directory. So I have to say / home. This / is the root, this pictorial representation, because most people can process information if there are pictures. So we're starting from this root, which is the /, and then we are going to home. So immediately after this / there is home, there is also dev, there is also etc. There are many others here. This was just a simplification of what files we have. This is the absolute path to the home directory. So ls, and then space, and then the argument, which is the path of the folder which you want to show the information. So if I press enter right now, you can see I have 2 files. I have projects and I have Martensson. All right, so we know this Martensson is a folder, and so you can tell that if it's blue in this terminal, of course it differs with terminals, but in this terminal, if something is blue, I can tell that this is a folder, and so this one is also a folder. All right, so let's say we want to show what is inside these Python examples. We can say ls /home/Martensson, because we know it's inside Martensson, right? And then /Python _examples. If I press enter, you will see we have a hello.py in there. You have to pass in a path if you want to show the contents of any other folder which is not the current folder. All right, so this is an argument. We call this part an argument. However, if you don't specify an argument like this, it's going to show the contents of the current folder, which is home Martensson here. Okay, I want to teach you another trick. If you press your up arrow on your keyboard, it brings you back all the commands that you have used during this session. All right, so right now this was an absolute path. Okay, so the path from the root we went inside home, and then we went inside Martensson, and then we went inside Python examples like we did. From the root we went inside home, went inside Martensson, and then Python examples. Right, this is an absolute path. But if it's a relative path, since we are already in Martensson, this is the folder that we are in, we could simply say ls Python _examples. This now becomes relative. We are starting from where we are, and then we can locate that folder because it's inside where we are. All right, so this Python examples is in Martensson, which happens to be the folder where we are, and so we can press enter and still get the same result like we are getting here. So this becomes a relative path. This becomes an absolute path. I hope that's making a whole lot of sense. So relative is relative to where you are. Okay, so let's look at these flags. We have 4 flags in total that we can use. The first one is the -L flag. This is for listing. L short for list contents in a list format, providing additional details. Right, so currently if I say ls, we don't see much information, but if I say ls and then space -L, I'm saying I want a long list. I want additional information. If I press enter, you can see now we have hordes of information. For now, I want you to ignore all this information, but you can see the names of these 4 files. There is food, which was this file. There is not.txt, which was this file. And then this one with a tilde, this file, and then Python example, this one. There's a lot of information that we can extract from a long list like this one. The next one is going to be ls-a. This is telling us to list everything, because when we list things like this, there are some hidden files that we are not being shown here. But if I tell it to list everything, if I press enter, you can see now we have those hidden files. Any file that has got a dot, or double dot like this is going to be hidden. That's how the file system works. And so you can see now these files are showing up. All right, let me clear that. The next flag that we're going to talk about is the capital letter R. This one lists contents recursively. If you have any subdirectories in your current location, the contents of those subdirectories are going to be listed as well. Okay, let me ls first. And so we say this with a blue color is a directory. These others are not. So if I ls capital letter R and press enter, you can see now this other directory has its file shown. It's also listed. And so we are listing all these files recursively. All right, first up, it lists the files of the current directory, right? And then it realizes, oh, there's also another directory inside there. Let me list its contents as well. And so let's look at the last one, which is LTR. It sorts items based on modification date and time. If I ls currently, and I'm going to long list without using the TR flag. I'm just using the L flag. If I press enter, you can see the files are being shown by the latest date, this March 1, and then February 28, 23, and 22. However, if I am to use ls and then hyphen ltr, you can see, so it inverts that. So the recent one goes at the end. Right, let me clear all this. You can join these flags, right? I can ls at the same time. I want a long list of everything. So hyphen LA or AL. LA, press that, you can see I have a long list. So I'm long listing all, including the hidden files. You can say LSL capital letter R. It recursively shows a long list. You can combine all these flags if you want a certain output in the terminal. And so yeah, we're done with command 2. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. I hope to see you in our next tutorial. For now, I'm out. Bye bye.